Welcome to Golu 2025. Our family is honored to have you visit our Golu virtually, or if you had a chance to see it physically, we are very grateful you were here with us. With Operation Sindoor as a theme for the year, we invite you into a sacred region where divinity and history converge. At the heart of this year's celebration stands the Sharada Devi Temple in Teetwal, Kupwara district, Jammu and Kashmir. Nestled in the Neelum Valley, this temple radiates the essence of Sharadamba, as described in the Neelamatha Puranam and Rajatarangini. The backdrop of blue symbolizes the mystic aura of the region, clouds, flora, and the timeless spirit of the valley. On one side, we have Operation Sindoor's military base and the air base on the other end. Between them both lies our Golu that is going to tell you the story that transcends time. Now let's journey back to the story of Sati. She was the daughter of Daksha Prajapati, who was born to him after many years of Daksha's tapas, praying and asking Prakriti to be born to him. And Prakriti agreed to be born to him on one condition that no man would ever question her. After several years, Daksha organized a grand swayamvar for Sati, but he deliberately excluded Shiva. He considered Shiva too carefree, too unkept, unlike his favorite Mahavishnu, who was already jeweled and looking clean and beautiful. But Sati eternally belonged to Shiva. Shakti and Shiva could never be separated. Upon entering the hallway, Sati noticed that Shiva's absence was not the right decision made by Daksha. Sati instantly took the Bilva Mala and cast it into the sky, and the most compassionate Shiva appeared instantly because he's, after all, Karunakaran. The other suitors in the hall stepped aside as they saw the boss in the coat with the Vilvamala around his neck. Despite Daksha's disapproval, she married Shiva. One day, Narada visited Kailasa and casually asked why the divine couple had not attended the grand paparazzi of the gods where they were all present at Daksha's yajna. Sati was puzzled and she was not very sure as to why she was not invited to Daksha's yajna. She instantly went up to Shiva and said, "Come on, Shiva, let's go. Let's go to my father's puja." But Shiva said, "Sati, we do not go to any puja uninvited." But she longed to see her family. After much debate, Shiva relented, saying, "You are Daksha's daughter. After all, Dakshayani, you would definitely be as adamant as him." This angered Sati. She said, "Just Dakshayani?" She transformed herself into a Rudra Swarupam, revealing herself as Parashakti. Shiva, like any husband trying to escape an angry wife, attempted to leave, but Shakti blocked him in all 10 directions: north, south, east, west, northeast, southwest, Akash, and Bulok, in every way possible. That's how the Dashavidya Margam was born. Shiva bowed to the Jaganmata and said, "Mate, I will not stop you." She replied, "Now that I've shown you the path of the Dashavidya, while I go to my father's house, I want you to be the guide to all sadhakas who walk into it. Your homework would be for you to sit down and prepare the study plan while I go to meet my family." At Daksha's yajna, when Sati entered, she felt a sense of coldness and rejection. Daksha had broken all sacred rules. He failed to invoke Shiva and Shakti. To uphold Dharma, Sati immolated in the fire. She became Daksha Yajna Vinashini, as they say in Lalita Sahasranama. The Shivaganas rushed to inform him. Devastated, Shiva comes to the yajna, carries Sati's body, and does his Rudra Thandavam, a dance of grief in cosmic fury. Here we've shown him in a Natya Swarupam as Natarajan. Shiva being time himself, imagine when he is grieving. Destruction will loom. Pralayam is guaranteed. So everybody present at Daksha's Yajna run to Mahavishnu because he's the Yajna Rakshaka, as they mentioned in Sahasranamam. Only a Mahavishnu or a Mahashakti could approach a disturbed Maheshwara. Vishnu immediately sends his Sudarshana Chakra, which sliced Sati's body into several pieces, and it fell all across Jambudvipam. Each site became a Shakti Pitam. Her right hand fell in Kashmir, symbolizing knowledge, and thus emerged Ma Sharada Devi, Sakshat Saraswati Swarupam. As Sati's body was leaving Shiva while he was doing the Rudra Tandavam, he felt the pain of separation. In anguish, he cursed, "Whoever did this to me shall suffer the same loss." He opened his eyes and Narada said, "Narayana, Narayana." Shiva was shaken. He had cursed his dearest Mahavishnu, but in the divine realm, there is no rivalry. They are, after all, the facets of the same truth. Vishnu consoled him. Like in today's words, he said, "Chill, bro, this isn't a curse. It's a boon. I'll use it when I descend to Bhuloka to face an Asura. I will be separated from my beloved as well." Shiva smiled and said, "Then give me the joy to reunite you both." Thus, he incarnated himself as Anjaneya Swami. After the storm of sorrow, Shiva entered deep meditation. This form is called Dakshinamurti. The gods came to witness him. They saw his left side was hollow. His Shakti had left him. After all, he is Ardhanarishwara. Yet, as Bholenath, with his compassion, he still offered complete Sampurna Ashirvadam to all his devotees. He adorned a Tatanka, earrings worn by female goddess on the left, and Kundala on the right, earrings worn by male gods. While Shiva was meditating as Dakshinamurti, meanwhile, Himavan, the king of Himalayas, and his wife Menaka had Parvata Putri as Parvati. We are showing plantations here in the Neelam Valley, yes, but we are also showing Aushadha Prastham in the form of a medicinal plant here to show where Parvati hails from. Parvati has been meditating for eons too in order for her to reunite with Shivan, her eternal love. This time they have a Divya Mangala Kalyanam, and Shivan, instead of his Jatamudi, comes as Sundaramurti. After their beautiful marriage, they are also blessed with two celestial sons, hence making the perfect family portrait in the Devaloka. Let's move to the third step. Some of you know I fell off the stairs just the day before Golu began. My dear friend Kanchan stepped in to help with the setup. She arranged most of the dolls in her own intuitive order. Placing Dakshinamurti, Mahavishnu, Ganesha at the center, I hadn't given any specific instructions. Later, Aditi, another friend, joined her, and together they added beautiful touches to the decor and finer details. When I suggested placing the Ashtalakshmi, they did so, but Kanchan noticed she had nine instead of eight. I smiled and said, there is a Lakshmi who has eight forms. I was already overwhelmed by their support and placements. Hence, I didn't matter much about the order or the number of Lakshmis. What mattered was her love and her intention behind everything that she did that day. But what unfolded during Golu was far beyond what I could have imagined: divine interventions, subtle messages, and profound learnings. I recall someone once asked Paramhamsa the difference between Kali and Durga. He said, Kali is Ugra Swarupam, fierce, but she's Dayalu, very compassionate. Durga Ma is Sakshat Mahalakshmi Swarupam, very gentle and beautiful in the outside, but she will be fierce just to protect her devotees. And so in our Golu, this year, the Lakshmis have revealed themselves as Navadurgas. While Sharadamba is our theme, the true hero of our Guru is Adi Shankaracharya. Through her blessings, I received Guru Kadaksham, and with his grace, I learned something new about my own Guru every single day. What I shared with guests on day one or two of our Guru was completely different by the time I came to Vijayadashmi, because Parmacharya kept adding layers of meaning and insight. One day while doing Archanai, I had a moment, call it intuition or an illusion or a divine intervention or a message from the universe, but it was not a lie. I felt as if Sakshat Lakshmi herself was performing Abhishekam with golden coins for Adi Shankaracharya. It was his compassion that once moved Lakshmi to shower Kanakadara on a poor woman. And here I was, a very ignorant devotee, blessed to witness something extraordinary. My friend Kanchan could have placed the Lakshmi Murti anywhere, but she placed it right above Shankaracharya. What I felt in that moment was not planned, it was sheer grace. Let's go to the fourth step. When I requested for Haigriva to be brought to the Golu, I told very naively that this is going to be a Vaishnava equivalent to Dakshinamurti. But after days of reflection and Shankaracharya's Anugraham, I learned and realized how wrong I was. His philosophy of Aham Brahmasmi is what I should be looking at life, right? This truth was echoed when I was reading the Lalita Sahasranamam on Friday, and the final verse dedicated to Hayagriva, and he was the guru of Agastya Muni who composed the Lalita Sahasranamam. The divinity had no duality. They did not look at it as Hayagriva from Vaishnavism and Agastya Muni from Shaivism. They brought us this treasure with a non duality concept, and that was reinforced during the Navratri for me. Speaking about Adi Shankaracharya, I would like to move further and discuss with you guys the reason why we have Mandana Mishra and Ubaya Bharati here to talk about the great debate that happened between them, which was a treasure that we could learn from. And Mandana Mishra was a scholar in Purva Mimamsa, which emphasizes on Vedic rituals, karma as a path of liberation. But Adi Shankaracharya was showcasing the non dualism in Advaita Vedanta. Let's talk about the great debate that we treasure in our Indian philosophy. The debate took place at Mandana Mishra's home in Mithila. And Ubaya Bharati, Mandana Mishra's wife, was the renowned scholar herself, and she served as the impartial judge. The debate lasted several days, covering topics like the nature of reality, the roles of ritual, and the path to liberation. Shankaracharya argued that rituals are limited and cannot lead to ultimate liberation, which lies in realizing the self as Brahman. Mandana Mishra defended the efficacy of rituals as per Vedas. He never understood what Shankara meant by everything was an illusion. He said, I sow a seed and it grows to be a plant. I see the cause and effect, Shankara, but I do not understand what you mean by everything is an illusion. And Shankara explained further the feeling of breeze and the fire in the forest, everything transcends to an experience. Similarly, Bhagavan is an anubhavam. It is an experience that one should have. He also went further to say the wind that blows through the sewage stinks, and it also goes through the bed of roses that gives us scent. But the wind itself has no aroma. So Bhagavan is untouched and pure and cannot be experienced surely with our sense organs. After intense philosophical exchanges, Mandana Mishra was convinced by Shankaracharya's logic and spiritual insight. But the final challenge was due with his Ardangani Ubaya Bharati. Ubaya Bharati declared that to truly win, Shankaracharya must also defeat her in the debate. As much as Shankara didn't want to debate a Stree as he was a sannyasi, but he realized that the lady in front of him was Sakshat Saraswati. She posed tough questions to him because she knew he was Shivalila after all. And how is that? Okay, let's pause and briefly step aside from the debate and discuss Shankaracharya. Shakara. Okay, if you look at these syllables, Sh is 5. Ka ka gagana ka is 1 and yara la ra is 2. So in Mantrodharana, this becomes from 512, it becomes 215. Now, who was born in this order? Let's take a look. 2 represents Vaishaka Masam. 1 represents Shukla Paksha and 5 represents Panchami Tithi. And Adi Shankaracharya was the divine form of Lord Shiva himself that was born on this day. Isn't this a beauty? Yes, now let's go back to the debate. She posed questions about Kama Shastra, which Shankaracharya, being a celibate monk, could not answer because he had not experienced that. So he asked Ubaya Bharati if he could take some time off to go into meditation and understand the worth and the value of family and Kama Shastra. To answer this authentically, Shankaracharya entered the body of a king temporarily who gained first-hand experience and then returned to continue the debate. He could convince Ubaya Bharati that the sensual pleasures in a family life was no comparison to the divine bliss because, unlike sensual bliss, which is experienced with involvement of engaging with something or someone else externally, there was no such dependency with your internal travel to experience divinity. The aftermath, Mandana Mishra accepted defeat, became a disciple of Shankaracharya. He later became to be known as Sureshwaracharya, one of Shankaracharya's foremost followers and contribution to Advaita philosophy. And Ubaya Bharati showed her Swarupam as Ma Sharada Devi herself, who was requested to come along with him to the south. She agreed to, provided he never turned back to look at her, which he was more than happy to obey, provided he had a cue from her. She said, Shankara, if you paid attention to the sounds of my anklet, you would know that I'm walking along with you. Shankara was very happy that Sakshat Sharada Devi was walking along with him to his hometown. However, at some point during their journey, he could not hear the sound further because by then Sharada Devi had stopped to observe something very unique and different. It was an apurupam. She saw a frog and a snake doing abhishekam to a Shivalingam. This mesmerized her, and because she stopped to admire this, Shankara couldn't hear her anklets, and he turned to look at her, and because he turned, he broke his promise, and Sharadamba froze to become a statue, and hence became Sharada Devi at Sringeri. And now we have the Sharada Mata at Sringeri by the Tunga Nadi. We're almost approaching the end of our Golu and we have a few more dolls to discuss. But let's start with our Trimurtis, the Sangeeta Vidwans, right? Kanchana and Aditi kept them in this order and we didn't plan it. It was just kept as is. And like I said, Bhagwan was blessing me with a lot of information. And one such piece of information is what I'm going to share with you. It is intertwined with Shankara and Sharadamba and Kashmir. It's very overwhelming for me and I want to share this with you. Let's summarize Muthuswami Dikshidhar. His divine revelation after receiving Mahavidya Diksha from his Guru Chidambara Swami in Kashi and years of intense sadhana. Dikshidhar, like any other student, asked his Guru how to measure his progress. The Guru guided him to take a holy dip in Ganga with open arms. Emerging from the river, Dikshidhar saw the yar of the bean pointing upwards. Isn't this a divine sign of transcendence? This made his Guru send him to Tirutani for further work, and Muthuswami Dikshidhar refused to leave his Guru, but then he convinced him. I understand that we have a spiritual bond, but your work begins at Tirutani now on. And right after Muthuswami Dikshidhar left, Chidambara Swami attained moksha. His samadhi, adorned with a Sri Yantra, still stands at the Hanuman Ghat in Varanasi. Do you guys want to know some divine design that happened here without our pre-planning? Muthuswami Dikshidhar went into Ganga to get his answer. And who wrote Ganga Shtakam? Adi Shankaracharya. Muthuswami Dikshidhar got a veena. And who else has a veena in Nagolu? Sharadamba. Muthuswami Dikshidhar was the only one amongst the Trimurti that went to Kashmir. What is the theme of our Golu? Kashmir. Here. Let's go to Sharadamba's sari. While we were going through many sari selections for her, Kanchan chose this one. And I wanted to go with her choice because she took so much interest in the Golu as well, right? And while we were dusting the sari to drape it properly, guess what we saw? A silver zari embroidered saying Sri Sharada Devi. It was almost like the divine was giving me an approval with her silent nod. This sari was gifted by my grandmother long, long ago. One day when I was sitting by myself in the Golu, I felt Shankara was telling me, Gayatri, you're talking to everybody about the Sri Yantra and the Sri Chakra. Did you not know that I already appeared here many, many weeks ago? And I was wondering what he was trying to say. I was so puzzled. Then I realized we were trying to replicate the new Sharadamba temple in Jammu and Kashmir in our Golu this year. And this arch here had pieces of the Yantra that I had painted there without even realizing it. And he was pointing out that to me. And another sadhaka who was in the Srividya Margam that visited our Golu, he also noticed that the little bindis that I put there as, oh Gayatri, you also added the bindus, did Shankaracharya tell you? I think he just made me do it in the form of my mother, who was asking me to enhance the designs on the arch for it to look more evident and pretty from a distance. So much anugraham, so much grace, so much beauty and divinity has been experienced by me and many members that came to our Golu. I would like to thank Bhagawadpada for all the anugraham and Sharadamba for all the patience and compassion with which she guided me to execute this Golu along with my family. Namaste Sharade Devi, Kashmira Puravasini, Twamaham Prataye Nityam, Vidya Danam Chadimahi. Please continue to bless all of us with your Vidya. Thank you, and we look forward to Kashmir blooming in spirituality, philosophy, culture, heritage, and tradition.